It's easy to overlook Alyssa Ashcroft when you look through the many characters who have come and gone over the many years and titles that the Resident Evil franchise has provided. But that would be quite the mistake, especially considering that she's been a crucial part of Resident Evil Requiem's promotional materials. Every shady corporation has a journalist who is hell-bent on uncovering the truth behind its dealings, and the Umbrella Corporation is the perfect targets for a woman whose drive and ambition push her towards chasing stories that matter to the people she writes for, and her own career. The chaos of the Raccoon City incident was the perfect catalyst for her single-minded determination to bring the truth of the matter out for all to see. But it was more than that. She ran through the city streets, armed with her wits and a limited skill set, placing her at a distinct disadvantage when compared with the likes of Leon, Jill, and the other heroes who rose up to face an unprecedented threat. Like Jill, her quest to bring down the Umbrella Corporation was a personal one, and a woman of her caliber was never going to back down from it. Unlike other survivors of the outbreak, Alyssa refused to move on from the trauma it inflicted on her. Her story was only the beginning. And it is one that we're delighted to dive into ahead of the inevitable look into her relationship with the one person she might have given it all up for, her daughter Grace. A dedicated journalist. Although we met Alyssa at a point in her life when she had already built a career as an investigative journalist, her devotion to her job and her professional code of ethics are made quite evident to us. At her heart, she was a truth seeker and somebody who was unafraid to stand up to those in power. And though she didn't know it at the time, her career would put her on a collision course with the Umbrella Corporation that would shape a significant part of it, and perhaps even her life trajectory. Her story begins with an investigation into illegal drug testing at a hospital in the Arklay Mountains, which we know was a crucial facility for the Umbrella Corporation after the events of Resident Evil 0. The loss of her friend and colleague Kurt would lead to the repression of the memories associated with the investigation thanks to the potential meddling of an Umbrella representative, Greg Mueller, tasked with masking the truth. The shock of losing a friend and colleague led her to compartmentalize it, albeit unwillingly, and barrel ahead by throwing herself into her work. It's an interesting response to trauma that's worth taking a pause from her story. It gives us a window into the kind of woman she was, and is a solid explanation of her eventual resolve to bring the truth about Umbrella out for all to see. Alyssa would go on to investigate several stories involving Umbrella's activities and their consequences, even encountering Mueller again over the course of her work. Alyssa was always a survivor, and one that refused to be bogged down by her shock and grief, a trait that would make itself known once again in the aftermath of the Raccoon City incident. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. A brave survivor. Alyssa's suppressed memories would return to her during the events of Resident Evil Outbreak and File Number 2, where she would join a few other survivors to find a way out of Raccoon City before its destruction. We get a glimpse into her skill set over the course of the game, and she is revealed to be quite adept at infiltration and reasonably good with a firearm. These are skills that would serve her well in her career, and also be significant to her role in Requiem, which we're going to touch upon a little later in our story. Alyssa's instincts and her ability to work seamlessly with other survivors are what carry her through the nightmare of Raccoon City. She escapes before the United States government destroys the city in an effort to erase any trace of its ties to Umbrella. But her escape is not the end of her story. It's the moment everything she's uncovered begins to matter even more. In Outbreak File 2, more of her investigation comes into focus. The trail leading back to the Arklay Mountains facility resurfaces, and her involvement with Al Lester becomes a pivotal turning point. Those events push her to revisit the past and piece together the details of the investigation she once conducted with Kurt. Amid the chaos, she encounters Mueller again while pursuing the Daylight vaccine. At the same time, she assists the Raccoon City Police Department in getting civilians to safety. It's a near impossible task in a city already collapsing, yet Alyssa does more than endure it. She guides survivors out of danger and continues documenting what she witnesses. Testimonies, observations, and careful notes all become part of the foundation for exposing Umbrella's crimes. What defines Alyssa is not luck, but conviction. She's resourceful, steady under pressure, and driven by a moral code that refuses to bend. Survival was never the true conclusion of her arc. Escape with the truth in hand was. a relentless journalist. It could have been easy for Alyssa to decide to forget about the Raccoon City incident and move on with her life. However, she was made of sterner stuff, and she resolved to bring the truth about its activities to the spotlight. The memory of Kurt's loss and the circumstances surrounding it did not afford her the luxury of leaving the past behind. She trained herself to get stronger while publishing all of the findings on Umbrella during her time in Raccoon City, an article that would be a crucial part of the Raccoon City trials, in which the US government and Umbrella would go toe-to-toe in a blame game that ended with her work being largely discredited as a conspiracy theory in an effort to cover up the truth. She kept pursuing leads tied to BOWs and the organizations that enabled them, and during this period, she also became a mother to her daughter Grace. In the years that followed, she took on a string of investigations into unexplained disappearances and suspected BOW activity across the country. One of the clearest examples is her reporting connected to the Baker House incident in Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Once again, though, the truth proved hard to keep above ground, with yet another cover-up threatening to bury the story before it could fully surface. That pursuit eventually leads to the Wrenwood Hotel. While looking into a series of murders, Alyssa and Grace come face-to-face with unknown enemies, perhaps Gideon, the antagonist of Requiem, who is likely determined to unleash Elpis, a project tied to the bombing of Raccoon City. For years, the series has treated that moment as the end of her story. Her drive to chase BOW-related headlines becomes the thread Requiem later pulls on. Except, we're not convinced that Wrenwood is where Alyssa's story truly ends. Here's why. More than just a memory. We're going to come out and say that our thoughts on Alyssa's potential role in Requiem are all speculative at this point, the most recent showcase of the game included, but the fact remains that Grace's investigation is going to involve her in some capacity. We know that she is presumed dead at this point, and that Grace taking on a more active role in investigating a fresh round of homicides at the Wrenwood Hotel is because of her personal stake in uncovering the truth. It's probable that a flashback sequence is going to take us back to the fateful night of the murder, possibly as a sort of prologue tutorial section that allows players to learn more about the game's mechanics. Grace could end up uncovering more of her mother's notes as she pursues her objectives, and those pages might serve a practical purpose. They could point her towards the next location, provide key context, or even act as the missing piece that helps her solve a puzzle. Alyssa also gives Requiem a clean way to tie the past to the present, functioning as a bridge between what really happened in Raccoon City and the modern cover-ups that have kept the truth buried. She is also a natural source of emotional weight for the story. The latest showcase even teases a possible link to Leon, something we've speculated about before. And it is for that same reason that we're more confident than ever in our theory that Alyssa is the stalker shown in the gameplay footage. The most recent showcase is a major part of why. It introduced a new type of infected, one that can retain memories from its former life and act on them. It also revealed that Gideon believes Grace's blood may be the key to freeing Elpis. Put those together, and the Wrenwood Hotel's death starts to look less definitive. Instead of dying there, Alyssa may have been taken by Gideon and transformed into the Stalker. And it's not only the marketing beats that make this theory feel plausible. Look back at how Alyssa was designed in Outbreak. She had one of the larger health pools among the female cast, but she also had notably poor resistance to infection. If Gideon got his hands on her, those traits could have become a blueprint for the experimentation. The result would be a creature that mutates quickly, yet still carries traces of who it used to be. The Stalker moves with purpose, navigates spaces efficiently, and stays relentlessly on Grace's trail. That kind of behavior feels less like mindless aggression and more like instincts at work, with fragments of memory shaping its actions. It's also a solid explanation of the Stalker's obsession with Grace, and we've already highlighted how the effort to cure her mother could be a very strong motivator for Grace to embrace her new role as a field operative, Leon's guidance allowing her to scale new heights. We're aware that we might be eating a very bitter slice of humble pie once the game releases, but for the moment, we think that Alyssa Ashcroft still has a role to play, and that it's going to be quite a meaty one this time around. Let's just hope that her tenacity and resourcefulness are passed down to her daughter, and that the woman who not only survived the franchise's history, but wrote the first draft of better things to come, finally gets her due. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Bolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.